You know, everybody knows so much about your career, and you are so kind. Like last time, anybody see Mark last time at Celebration? Yeah. You know, you do. You want to give back so much. I mean, it's almost like a joke in that you took one breath at the beginning, and then you just went. And you were able to just give them all these new tidbits. We think we know so much, and
well, that's it.
This information.
You know, I try and do, and I hope you have questions for me, but I'm trying to think of things that have never been written about in articles or in books, or, you know, something special for the people that make the effort to come to something this special. Because I told you last time, you know, you're more like family, so I'm more willing to tell you things than I am a reporter from X, Y, or Z. So if you have any questions for me, I know we're going to get to that.
Yeah, we will get to those. Now, how did it feel with your first performance? Can you give us like a little, like what was your first acting job?
Well, see, I was in the middle of 7 kids. Bill, Terry, Jan, me, Jeannie, Kim, and Patrick.
Cindy.
And my older brother was the overachiever. Oh, what did you do, like Brady Bunch?
Marsha, yeah. Look, I throw in it when I can.
But, you know, yeah, we always watched Brady Bunch and said, oh, that's so fake. They're never fighting, not like we fight.
Did you guys fight?
Oh, yeah. Well, we jostled for position. There was only one TV in the...
I love, see, such a professional.
It said, or maybe Yoda's in here, I don't know. No, okay. Oh, look, they gave me a towel. Look at that.
What is that? Star Wars Celebration Japan.
Yeah.
Welcome, Japan! I had no idea we were here. Oh,
well, I'll just whip it out in the crowd at the end like Mick Jagger.
That's right. So what was that first acting job then? What was it that you did?
Well, I was going to say that, I mean, I started in just when I was a kid, just trying to get attention. With puppets and magic tricks, and I loved cartoons, I loved the comic strips that came to the door every day in the newspapers. But are you talking about professional?
Yeah, professional.
Let's see, I had 2 or 3 lines on the Bill Cosby show. Not the one that was popular. I was on the one where he played a basketball coach. I mean, some of the older people will remember that. And I had a line or two, and it was finished by lunchtime. And, but I was so thrilled. You know, I loved Bill Cosby as a kid. I idolized him. I used to listen to his record albums, see him on, the Ed Sullivan Show and so much. And I wanted him to be, I wanted to be Bill Cosby. He's so funny and this and that. And instead, he was a professional. He was serious. How do you do? Nice to meet you. And you know, I learned, you've got to understand, it's a business. He's not supposed to come out and be this cuddly character that he created on his record albums.
Right.
So I was very disillusioned.
And now what about Wizards? That was before Star Wars.
Oh yeah. I did that for Ralph Bakshi, who had done the Fritz the Cat cartoon.
Yeah.
And Ralph Bakshi sort of talk like this. He sort of, if you ever saw Fritz the Cat, he played one of the pigs, one of the pig policemen. No patch on Ralph Bakshi, but he was pretty much a taskmaster. I mean, I was reading the part, you call that a fairy? That's not, what kind of a fairy are you? So, gee, I'm not quite sure I like the way he said that. But, because what are you going to draw on? You're supposed to be an actor and you draw from your life experience and whatnot. But, no, I mean, it's amazing you remember that because I show up and, I am Sean, the king of the fair, and somebody just blows me away immediately. I think Richard Romano got the main part. Oh, there it is on the screen.
There it is, right there, yeah.
But, like I say, I read for the big part, and to my relief, because I don't think I was ready. I mean, I think a lot of the times, people make it so quickly, they don't have a chance to try it out on the road, and,
Well, you did, then pretty much followed that up with A New Hope. I mean, wasn't that one of the things there that you got into? And,
which is that?
Star Wars, after
Oh,
Wizards,
no, what happened was I did a soap opera for 9 months. I was on General Hospital. Wow. Yeah, and again, it was before it was popular. Everything I was on was before it was popular. Because I was before Luke and Laura. It was in the old days when they had the old-fashioned, we'll return to our story after these messages. And you know, the thing was, I hated soap operas. I wouldn't watch them on a dare. But when I got the part, then I really wanted to be, you know, I mean, it's completely different. The finished product is much different than the process of putting it together. All the actors have a great sense of humor. When they're putting it on its feet and rehearsing, they're sending it up. I told you before, and I'll tell you again. They'll really...
It's like stage, right? I mean,
yes. And you don't stop for anything. They don't care. We once had an earthquake, and someone improv the brilliant line, "It's only an earthquake." But we just went on. Somebody said they were doing the countdown, and 5, 4, 3, 2, and Lucille Benson took a drag of her cigarette. She thought she'd stumped it out and put it in the trash can behind the nurse's station. And during the scene, smoke started up between and without any explanation, all the nurses just countered over to the elevator so the stage manager could run in and put it out with it. They wouldn't stop. It was like live television, even though we were on a week delay.
Wow.
And it was really a great experience. I tell young actors, boy, if you can get on a soap opera, because you can learn to hit your marks, and you learn about lighting, and learn all this technical stuff, and you know, it's like I say, it's a place to try it out and learn technique. To work that craft. I really enjoyed it, even though I didn't think I would so much.
And they're not going as much now. So what about? So I just want to kind of hit some of these key moments here. So we get to A New Hope, and what is that like? Did you have any idea what was going to happen? I know that's a silly question. I didn't ask that, but did you know that it was going to be a sci-fi thing? It was going to. What did you know when you first
I'll tell you exactly what happened. So I was doing all this guest star. I was maybe on Street to San Francisco, and I'm on Canon, and I'm on, you know, all these shows that people can see on TV land now. But and then I did a bunch of TV movies. You know, I did like 5 TV movies. Some of them prestigious things. Patricia Neal played my mother, and she's a brilliant actress. And I did this series called The Texas Wheelers, which is a sitcom that Mary Tyler Moore produced. And when it got canceled, Robert Englund, who was a friend of mine at the time, and he later played Freddy Krueger, but he had played Freddy Krueger at the time, said, "Oh, have you gone out for that new Lucas thing? Is it the guy who did American Graffiti?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, no, what is it?" He goes, "It's called the Star Wars, and I think it's some kind of Flash Gordon thing." And I said, "Well, have you gone out for it?" He goes, "Yeah, I didn't make the cut." See, actors won't tell you about a project until they're sure that they didn't get it. Then they're magnanimous and say, "Oh, by the way, you've been out on that Lucas thing." And I said, "No." And what happened was we went in, and it was like what they call a cattle call, where it's just 50 people in a room, and they don't give you a script, they don't tell. In fact, I went in, and it was Brian De Palma was. George and Brian De Palma were sitting at tables or desks, and he was looking at people for Carrie, the high school horror picture with Sissy Spacek, and George was looking for Star Wars people. And like I said, you have no clue. They didn't talk about anything. They say, "So, tell us a little bit about yourself." And you'd spend a couple of minutes, just like I am with you, saying, "Well, I was one of 7 kids. I graduated from high school in Japan because my dad was in the Navy, yak. But you don't have a chance to really do a scene or anything. They just want to see how you are, you know? I mean, how you come off. And
how did you feel coming off of that? You know, because so often with the job that you end up booking, it's that kind of, "Oh man, I should have said this, I should have done that."
You always second guess yourself. But because it was just one of those general interviews, there was no way you could know. I had done the same thing for American Graffiti, and I didn't get a call back. I did that same routine. What was interesting was they saw me for Apocalypse Now to play the farm boy because I projected that sort of empty-headed, freshly smacked in the head innocence that I guess they were looking for. You know, I had a certain cluelessness that was very valuable. And so I went and I read for Apocalypse Now. Much later came the Scene in the Mail. 7-8 pages.
Yeah.
It's in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. And it's with Han Solo And was it written for just Han or was Obi-Wan? I can't remember. All I know is I read this scene, and I couldn't make heads or tails out of it. I said, is this like a Mel Brooks send-up? Because I mean, on one line, listen, I can tell you for sure, I've never forgotten in all my years in show business. You know how long this was ago, decades ago. The Han Solo is saying, "Hey kid, I fulfilled my part of the burden." And I said to Han Solo, "But we can't turn back. Fear is their greatest defense. I doubt if the actual security there is any greater than it was on Aquilai or Sullust. And what there is most likely directed towards a large-scale assault." I've got to memorize this. And I have no idea if it's, arch, if you do it like with an edge, like a Saturday Night Live sketch, or what is it? Is it a parody? Because if it's like Flash Gordon, it's anachronistic. It's like a throwback to an earlier style. Yeah. And I said, you know what? I remember when when I finally went to do it, Harrison was Han Solo, and I knew him from Graffiti, where he played Bob Falfa, and I knew George's work anyway, and I was really begging George for some, is he sort of like being sarcastic here, and George sort of physically said, just, let's do it, we'll talk about it later. So, and I'm looking for Harrison, because is he like, and he worked with him before, so I figured, okay, well, it must be normal.
He must get it, yeah.
Yeah, and so we did the scene as best we could, and like I said, George is like somebody that, he'll look at it and go, okay, let's do it faster with more intensity. Okay, so... Fear's their greatest defense. I got the extra series. I didn't do it that fast, but I just got through it. And and that's when I really had driving home. I'm thinking, I should have done this. I should have done that. I didn't have any sense of humor. I didn't have any style or panache. But again, whatever I had. By the way, they cast us in lots. It was me and Harry. I always do this. I call them Harry and Harrison. It was me and Harrison and Carrie, and it was another set of Han, Luke, and Leia. And I remember who Luke was. I remember Leia. I'm not sure about Han Solo, but what I'm saying is they told us later they didn't mix and match. It was either Team A or Team B.
Wow.
Yeah, and George couldn't really decide, and I heard Marcia had a lot to do with saying, pick those guys.
Yeah.
So we have her to thank or blame regarding on your feelings on that.
I think Team B is telling that story somewhere in a bar right now, too. So there's two teams.
No. It's,
so then, there was another film you did back then, which I loved, Corvette Summer.
Yeah.
Right? Awesome. And here we like to mix it up, give you a little time.
Oh my gosh, here it is.
Looking good, my friend. That's nice. Well, so we have a little something here.
That's Annie Potts's first film, and she was hysterical. I got to test with all these different Vanessas. It was actually, the name of the movie was Dantley and Vanessa, a fiberglass romance.
It's a very 70s title.
Well, but it was, you would have seen it in the papers as Dantley and Vanessa with a subtitle, which to me said it's humorous and involves cars of some kind. This Corvette Summer was appalling to all of us. I mean, they retitled it and we had no vote. I said, what's it, on a double bill with beach blanket bingo? It's horrible. But I got to test with all of these actors, with Nancy Allen, with Amy Irving, with all the wonderful actresses. And, I was no help because I tested all day long in this scene, and they'd ask me, what did you think? And I liked every girl better than the last. I would say, well, she's got this, and I didn't help them hone it down. I just kept widening the net, you know, saying, let's have them all play the part, you know. But Annie came in with that voice and that olive oil body, and I mean, she was definitely the dark horse, but boy, she's got such great innate comedic chops, you know, so...
Great. Well, so what we do, it's time for a little something here that we call, we'll just go ahead and hit that intro and let's do it.
The Star Wars Celebration 6 Double Take.
So what we want to do is take a second look at something and kind of combine some things. I don't know if you're aware that there are some similarities between Star Wars and Corvette Summer. So if we take
I haven't seen Corvette Summer since it was actually in the movie theaters.
Yeah, so if we take a deeper look at it, I don't know, do we have that? Do we roll that tape there? Oh, look at these screens.
Oh, you're gonna...
You're never going to look at that the same again, will you?
I haven't seen Corvette Summer since it was in the movie theater. But come to think of it, I haven't seen the Star Wars movies since they were in the movie theaters. I've never watched them at home or on DVD or
We haven't met with you.
VHS.
You guys ready for that?
So that's why you guys know more about it than I do. I still call him the medical droid. You call him IG-88. You have to understand, a lot of these characters weren't named until they made them into toys. You know what I mean? So we call that the dustbin robot because he looked like a garbage can, and they call garbage cans dustbins. And then the toys would come out 6 months after the movie came out, and you'd say, oh, that's, and they'd have a name for it, you know? We called him Lobster Man. Who's the one that looks like a lobster?
Akbar?
There you go. I think he did have his name. I think he was Admiral Akbar, to give him all the respect he deserves. And by the way, I had no idea that this man, the star of comic book the movie, also, from all the characters that he plays, he's also the strawberry mini wheat. With all the respect that role commands.
I am the only guy man enough to be the strawberry.
Well, at least, you know, I should tell you a story. This is a true story where you should understand how to be or not be if you're trying to be in voiceover or be an actor. I was in the final consideration to be Snap, Crackle, and or Pop. And I thought, I would love a job that runs, you know, they're great. It runs for 30 years or whatever. You know, 2 syllables, and you can send all 3 kids to college. So I was, I was really excited when they got down. I said, this must be a really important, because I've been back maybe 4 times. And this time we met the actual executives from Kellogg's.
Yeah.
And they said, well, Mark, you will be playing the role of Pop. And just to loosen what I thought was tension in the air, I said, what, like I'm not right for Snap or Crackle? Come on! And the guy did not even know smile. He just got and he said, well, Pop is a leader. He's grounded, he's very intelligent. Ooh, did I just lay a big egg?
You know, because I thought that was funny, you know, because if you come on, they're all sort of like this. I mean, come on. Can you really remember a distinct personality difference between Snap? Come on, that was funny. Well, needless to say, I told my agent that story. She goes, did you just assume that an advertising executive had a sense of humor? What are you, crazy? You just choked yourself out of a job, buddy, because I bet you're not getting it. And sure enough, all I have to tell for that experience is this story.
It's a great story. I would love it. And it's, you know, it's like that with Fred Flintstone. It'll take 4 hours to record, you know, Bonnie, my pebbles. Literally, 4 hours.
Well, see, then what's interesting too is when they were doing the actual cartoons, I did a couple of Flintstones, and it was Henry Corden when I did it.
Yes, he was
the original guy.
The original was Alan Reed, and
Alan
Henry
Reed.
Corden, and then yours truly got to take over after.
Who's after Henry Corden? You. Okay, because I thought they did a different Fred and Barney for the cereal commercials than they did for the actual cartoons. Is it consistent now? It's always you?
Yeah, well, I'm told.
Oh, good. Wow, look at, you know, because both of the previous Fred Flintstones were beefy guys. And that's what's astonishing about James. He can do these voices.
Okay, look, you know, I mean, it's very kind of you.
No, seriously.
All right,
if you've ever seen this one-man show,
all right, okay,
it's mind-boggling.
This is not, you know,
He should be a much bigger person to be able to do that.
This is the kind of guy he is. Thank you. Very, very sweet. But see, you all don't know that I'm going to be sitting there talking to my wife, Mark Hamill will say all these nice things about himself.
No.
It's just, it's so
I brought along a notebook in case we were, you know, at a loss for topics. And the first thing I wrote was, don't refer to notes on stage. I already knew.
Now, hey, you know, you mentioned Comic Book the Movie.
Leave backpacking, wings. Let's see, I'm breaking all the rules.
Comic Book the Movie was a great film that you did. You directed and you started. We do have a scene of you and I, because this was like many years ago, and one of the first things that we...
And we didn't have a budget to even have casting sessions, you know, because that would cost money. And so I relied on all of these people that I first started doing animation voices in '92. Well, I did a show when I was a teenager, and then I didn't work in voiceover for 20 years. That's a good trivia question. I'll tell you what it is later. But when I did Batman, I started working with all these... I started working with all of these people that I had known for years, because I'm a huge fan of animation. And in those days, I had a VCR, and I would freeze frame, because the credits go by like, you know, you can't see anybody. But I knew Rob Paulson, I knew Jeff Bennett, I knew Tress McNeil, and Maurice LaMarche, and James Arnold Taylor. So to meet these people and work with them was a thrill. But when I said, we have to have a guy who is a movie mogul, but is a wunderkind, who, you know, you could mistake for the errand boy or something, but who's like the head of a big company. I was actually basing it on Richard Garriott, this guy that ran the video game company that I did Wing Commander for, and immediately I thought James can do this, because he's sharp, he's got improv skills, because we were just going to give them the premise and then run the scenes, and the lines that he came up with were all his own. Not only did he do a perfect job, but later we went and shot down at the San Diego Comic-Con, and we had to figure out, once we screened the rough cut, where the weak spots were. We need more information here, we need more information here. I had James come out to my house, and out in the backyard on a little bench in the garden, I said, we gotta get across this. He listened for a minute, he goes, okay, just roll. And we did, I don't know, maybe 2 takes. And I didn't have anything to cut to. I was going to use one or the other. Both were perfect. I'm telling you, this guy is money in the bank, and I owe him a lot. And you can leave the bribe on the table backstage.
Well, let's take a look at this clip. I haven't seen this in a while. This is you and me in Comic Book the Movie.
Me either. I haven't seen this since it wasn't in the theaters.
Thanks. Oh, it's great. Thanks so much. Sure. Hey, you know what? I'm thirsty. I feel embarrassed to ask you this, but you know, you're kind of diminutive. I am too. No, but listen, if you get some time off, I mean, well, I think you could find time off pretty easy, wouldn't they? I have this comic book, listen, I have to tell you. See, I'm out here for the Commander Courage movie. Sure. Now, we don't have an actor to play Liberty Lad, and you're just perfect for it. Look, you're blonde, you're blue-eyed, and the costume's not that revealing. I mean, it's kind of muscular. Well, but it's built into the suit. It's like Michael Keaton. I do some aerobic. Oh, you do? Well, then you'd be perfect. See, and you wouldn't. We have flesh tights. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, there are flesh tights. You wouldn't have to shave your legs. Yeah, you wouldn't have to shave your legs. But if you want to shave your legs, we'd love that. Because that's what we're supposed to be.
That's my boss. This is JT, the owner of our company. And, yeah. I don't think he'll be wearing any flesh tights today.
I do have the flesh tights on now, though.
That was Lori Allen and Roger Rose. And like I say, everybody in the movie are voiceover people. Lori she's the newsreader on Family Guy. They killed her off in that hour-long episode that was like an Agatha Christie, but she was on that show for like 9 years. Roger does all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, he does also.
We consider comic book the movie, it's, what Mad World was to comedians. This movie is to voiceover people because it's just chock-a-block. Well, the most famous people you've never heard of. Because, I mean, like I say, they do these characters that better than anything else in your life. But, there's nothing like the anonymity of a voiceover person. And that was a good thing for me to learn because, I go back and I do Broadway and I'd be so proud. Oh, boy, I got a nomination. Nobody knew I did, that I did Broadway. Because the West Coast is so far from the East Coast. I guess if you live in the tri-state area, they go, oh, look, Mark's on Broadway. But with the voiceover thing, I really discovered something that was really helpful for me, which is that I really enjoyed performing, but I didn't need to take a curtain call. I didn't need to have a spotlight. I didn't have to have people recognize me. And that was a good thing to know, that I really enjoyed just the process of performing.
Well, you're an amazing voice actor, and you did mention Batman, and I would be remiss if I didn't. So, the Joker, how did that part come to you? Did you just audition then, just like a business?
When I heard about Batman being a series, I read about it in the Comic Buyer's Guide, and they said they were going to do 65 episodes, which is a big buy. That's 13 weeks of original shows, even though they spread it out over much more than that, but 13 times 5 is 65. And they were going to model them after the Max Fleischer's Superman cartoons. And they were among my favorite cartoons ever. So I knew they were going for quality. Plus I knew they were signing people like Paul Dini, good writers, Bruce Timm. So I said to my agent, oh, I want to be on that show. And they relayed that information, and they came back and said, okay, Mark will be in Heart of Ice. They just gave me a part.
That's awesome.
I know, and I said, well, wait a second, what is it? They said, well, it's the first Mr. Freeze episode. And I read the script and I thought, oh, no, Mr. Freeze. Oh, Mr. Freeze. And they said, no, Michael and Sarah's Mr. Freeze. I said, oh, okay, I'm fine with it. I'm actually the guy that pushes Freeze into the solution, so I'm sort of the villain's villain. But when I went in there, I totally just geeked out on them. I wanted them to know I knew Batman backwards and forwards. I'm peppering them with cuts. Are you going to do Hugo Strange? You're going to do Clayface? You're going to do... Are you going to do any episodes where there aren't villains? Because I thought the downfall of the Adam West was they got into a formula too quickly. They didn't really make him a detective enough, or they didn't make him do mysteries and so forth. And as much as a kid loved the TV version, I knew that this had to stand on its own. Well, to make a long story short, I went in, I did the episode, and they were like, hey, relax, you got the part, Because I'm all over them about, I'm really excited. They had backgrounds there, they had character sketches of all the characters. And what happened was, about 6 weeks later, they decided they were casting the Joker. And so I was given the part of Ferris Boyle, but for the Joker, they said, would you like to come in and audition? And I was so sure that there's no way that they would cast somebody that was known for an iconic, good character like Luke. There's no way they're gonna stretch. Because because they don't have that much imagination. I don't think, you know. There's no way I'm going to get this. And because I was sure there was no way I could get it, I was kind of relaxed.
Sure.
And I was replacing another actor. Wonderful actor who, when I heard his tracks, I went, oh my God, he's a great Joker.
That's pretty common in voiceover.
It
does happen a lot.
Because, yes, in this case, it was a guy who had done so much for the Fox network. He was Captain Hook on Peter Pan and the Pirates. So the Fox executive said, oh, they recognize the voice.
Yeah.
Let's get another person in there. And that's why I don't bring up his name, because he's a brilliant actor, has nothing to do with his talent. It's just, you know, TV executives changing their mind. But I went in and I had to loop an episode. You know, that's where you add the dialogue to already pre-existing animation, which is inhibiting. You have to really, it's technical.
And you're kind of stuck to those beats and everything too. Yeah.
Beep, beep.
Yeah.
And then you go in with your line. Now, I did read some just wild copy, what wasn't synced to stuff. But I do remember, I always tell people I went to, you know, both ends of the emotional scale. Because when I was pulling out of the parking lot, I thought, that's the best Joker they're ever going to hear. They don't hire me, they're out of their minds. Then a week later, they called and said, they want you for Joker. I went, oh no, I can't do that. She said, why not? I said, I wanted to play somebody that no one had preconceived notions about. I said, Clayface. I said, Dr. Hugo Strange. I never said Joker. It's too high profile. There's no way I can do that and satisfy everybody, because everybody has an idea of how the Joker should sound.
Yeah, and now that idea is you. Because it would be lovely to hear the Joker, you brought a little something that you thought you could read as the Joker.
Normally people say, do the Joker, and I do the laugh, or I say, thank you, or whatever, just toss it off. But do you remember an episode of The Man Who Killed Batman, where Joker loses his reason to be because a small town, no-name thug has apparently killed Batman? Now, I think I know it, but this is a cheat sheet in case I forget. But he delivers a eulogy. And the guy who he believes has bumped off Batman is in his presence. And Harley Quinn is there, and a couple of the henchmen are there. But he gives a eulogy written by Paul Dini that goes...
Well, do you want like some mood lighting or anything?
Sure.
You want to stand, take a stage?
Dear friends, today is the day the clown cried. But he cried not for the passing of one man, but for the death of a dream. The dream that one day he would taste victory over his hated enemy, because it was the Batman that made me the happy soul I am today. How I agonized over how to thank him for that. Perhaps with a cyanide pie in the face. Or perhaps an exploding whoopee cushion playfully placed in the Batmobile. But those dreams were dashed by the weaselly Gunsel standing there in our midst. This cowardly, insignificant Garnet, who probably got lucky when Batman slipped in the slime trail this loser left behind him, this disgusting mound of hyena filth who's not fit to lick the dirt from my spats. But I digress. The time for sorrow is past. It's time to look to a future filled with smiles. And I'll be smiling again when we take that man there and stick him in that box there and slip him into that vat of acid there. Well, that was fun. Who's the Chinese?
It's so great. There's so many things we can talk about, and then and we haven't even really scratched the surface of Star Wars at all. And we are, you know, on a clock here.
I'll talk fast.
But there's things that there is something else that we do. A little shameless plug for you. What you're up to now. So we hit that, roll that intro.
Time to click like and follow our guests on a shameless plug.
It's a shameless plug, Mark. You are working on something that is, much like the Joker, a departure from what we know as Luke Skywalker and other roles that you played.
Now, if you have any wee small ones in the audience, I mean, you might be prepared to put your hands on guys. Although, you know, with HBO and Showtime, they've probably seen a lot of gnarlier stuff. This thing's called Sushi Girl. Tony Todd is in it, who's wonderful. The Candyman. It's a first-time director by the name of Kern Saxton, but there's other actors that I like Noah Hathaway from Never Ending Story, James Duvall. It's a real cult kind of Tarantino-esque picture about these low-life gangsters that are trying to figure out who absconded with the diamonds from a botched robbery. It was really out of my comfort zone, but I think a lot of times, like when I did Harrigan Heart or Room Service, when I get to play something that is not, that people don't expect from me, well, like the Joker, you're much more apt to surprise people if it's out of your wheelhouse. And this thing, when I read it, just scared me. I thought, ooh, there's no safety net. It's going to be really either, it'll be great in your best imagination, or it could go horribly wrong and you'll look terrible and you'll have egg on your face. And luckily for me, I think it turned out a lot better than I expected. It's coming out January 14th in theaters. Now, I know it's going to be available on video on demand. It's a small picture. Magnolia Films is releasing it, but hopefully you'll get to see it in the theater.